Roman Reigns went to call Paul Heyman on WWE SmackDown this week, but things didn't go according to plan. This came after the star was already in pain after the addition of a behemoth to Solo Sikoa's team as the fifth member of Survivor Series War Games. Bronson Reed turned out to be the mystery fifth member of Solo Sikoa's team and attacked Roman Reigns during the Bloodline confrontation. The two teams were facing off, and the OTC looked like he was going to get the upper hand, but it was not to be. Reed appeared and took out the stars, and even hit him with the tsunami, putting him on the ground. They were left in pain, and Reigns was still not fully recovered by the end of the show. A very visibly pained Roman Reigns sat down at the back as SmackDown was going off the air. He then took out his phone and called the Wiseman. Unfortunately, he got an answer, and it was not the one he was looking for. It said that the number he was calling was no longer in service. It appears that Paul Heyman's number is no longer active, and thus his return to be at the side of Reigns may not be a foregone conclusion. The WWE Universe was abuzz with anticipation as the familiar opening strains of Roman Reigns' theme echoed through the arena. The Tribal Chief, WWE's most dominant figure, walked to the ring with his signature stoic intensity. Dressed in his We the Ones black shirt and adorned with the Universal Championship draped over his shoulder, Reigns carried the aura of absolute control. Yet, tonight's SmackDown would reveal a side of Roman Reigns that no one expected, a side shaken, vulnerable, and utterly human. For weeks, tension had been simmering within the bloodline. After Jey Uso's defection and subsequent alignment with Cody Rhodes, the cracks in the once dominant faction grew deeper. Solo Sikoa, Roman's enforcer, seemed uncharacteristically distant. Jimmy Uso, ever the wild card, teetered between loyalty and rebellion. And then there was Paul Heyman, the wise man of the bloodline. The man whose silver tongue had orchestrated countless victories for Roman was now under scrutiny. Speculation was rife. Had Heyman's loyalty wavered? As Roman stood in the center of the ring, microphone in hand, the crowd's deafening boos created an electric atmosphere. The tribal chief raised his hand, silencing the WWE Universe with a mere gesture. His face betrayed no emotion, but his words carried an undertone of frustration. Paul Heyman, he growled, his voice steady but tinged with menace. Get out here. Now. The tension in the arena was palpable. After a beat, Paul Heyman emerged on the ramp, clutching the WWE Tag Team Championship titles he now managed for Solo and Jimmy. His face was a mask of apprehension, knowing full well that Roman's summoning was not an invitation, it was a demand for answers. Heyman climbed into the ring, microphone in hand, but before he could speak, Roman cut him off. Wise man, Roman said, pacing like a predator. I've been hearing whispers that you've been exploring other options. Heyman's eyes widened, and he immediately raised his hands in protest. Tribal chief, I would never. Shut up, Roman roared, his voice reverberating throughout the arena. For years, I've trusted you to handle my business, to protect this family. And now, when the bloodline is fractured, I find myself wondering, are you really on my side? The crowd was on the edge of their seats. Heyman, visibly shaking, tried to respond, but Roman held up his hand again. I don't want words, Paul, Roman continued, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. I want proof. Just then, Solo Sikoa's music hit, and the silent enforcer of the bloodline walked to the ring. His expression, as always, was unreadable. He stepped into the ring and stood next to Roman, his arms crossed. The tribal chief turned to Solo. You've been watching Paul, Roman said. Tell me, can we trust him? The arena fell silent as Solo stared at Heyman. For a moment, it seemed like he was about to speak, but instead, he simply nodded. Roman exhaled sharply, his tension easing. But the relief was short-lived. Out of nowhere, the lights in the arena flickered, and a distorted version of the Usos theme played. The crowd erupted as Jey Uso appeared on the Titantron, live via satellite. "Yo, Us," Jey said, smirking. "Still playing Puppet Master, huh? Let me drop some truth on you, Roman. Paul Heyman, he ain't your wise man. He's been playing both sides." Roman's face darkened as Jey continued. "You think you're in control, but Heyman's been meeting with Cody Rhodes, and guess what? Solo knows it." The crowd exploded, their reactions a mix of shock and exhilaration. Roman's head snapped toward Solo, his eyes narrowing. "Is this true?" Roman demanded, his voice trembling with fury. Solo remained silent, his gaze fixed on the mat. That silence spoke volumes. "You," Roman began, his voice cracking. "You betrayed me?" Heyman, desperate to salvage the situation, grabbed the microphone. "Tribal Chief, I would never betray you. Cody approached me. Yes, but it was a ruse, a distraction. You know I'm loyal to you." Roman's face contorted with rage as he grabbed Heyman by the collar. The crowd roared, sensing that the tribal chief was on the verge of exploding. But before Roman could act, Solo stepped between them. "Enough," Solo said, his voice calm but commanding. It was the first time Solo had ever spoken against Roman in the ring. The tribal chief stared at his enforcer, his shock evident. "You dare?" "Roman," Solo interrupted. "We're family, but even family can't follow blind." The WWE Universe was stunned into silence. Solo's words hung in the air, a direct challenge to Roman's authority. The tribal chief released Heyman, his hand trembling. For the first time in his career, Roman Reigns looked lost. But the night's shocks weren't over. Jey Uso reappeared on the Titantron, his smirk gone, replaced by a look of determination. "You always said you were the head of the table, but a real leader don't need to control people. Maybe it's time someone else sat at that table." The screen cut to black, and suddenly the lights in the arena went out completely. When they came back on, Cody Rhodes stood on the ramp, holding a steel chair. Before Roman could react, Cody charged the ring, taking out Solo with a thunderous chair shot. Heyman scrambled out of the ring, leaving Roman alone with Cody. The tribal chief tried to fight back, but the pain of betrayal and the weight of his fractured empire seemed to slow him down. Cody hit the crossroads, leaving Roman sprawled in the ring. As Cody stood over the fallen tribal chief, he grabbed a microphone and declared, "The bloodline is over, and so is your reign." The show ended with Cody standing tall, the crowd chanting his name, while Roman Reigns lay in the ring, clutching his ribs and staring at the ceiling. The tribal chief, once untouchable, had been left broken and betrayed. It was a night that would be remembered as the moment Roman Reigns' empire truly began to crumble, a night that left the tribal chief in pain, both physical and emotional. And as SmackDown faded to black, one question lingered. Could Roman rise again, or was this the end of his legendary reign?